master's in science, and she founded vaxtruth.org. Now let's listen to this clip about people refusing the anthrax vaccine and what happens to them when they're a member of the armed forces.
Hi, my name is Kathy Hubble, and I'm here today to ask for your help on behalf of a special group of our service members and veterans who have served our country well. Most of you are probably aware of the anthrax vaccine that is given to our troops as they deploy to certain high-risk areas overseas. Many of you are also aware of the medical controversies surrounding that same vaccine, the many reports of side effects, which include things like short-term memory loss, severe bone and joint pain, tumors and cysts, heart problems, vision problems, hormone problems, grand mal seizures, and so much more. These things are well documented. There is a reason that the military has built several vaccine centers around the country. The medical problems are well known, even if they are not always treated. But very few of you probably know that until the FDA finally licensed the anthrax vaccine in 2005, it was an illegal, investigational, experimental new drug. Let me repeat that. Until 2005, it was an illegal, investigational, experimental new drug. So those service members who took the vaccine in those years, who were ordered to take it and did take it, were receiving something that it had been illegal to order them to do in the first place. It was forced on them even during the years when the vaccine's manufacturer had been found to falsify expiration dates on some lots of the vaccine and yet shipped them out for use. It was illegal to order those troops to take the vaccine even during those years when the manufacturer had also changed the fermenting and filtering equipment on the vaccine, which resulted in 100-fold increase in its potency. All of this without notifying the FDA as required by law. Still, it was forced on our troops. It was forced on them and forced on them and forced on them. It was a direct order. And when you refuse a direct order in the military, the consequences are severe. They range from a loss of rank, a demotion, a fine, a loss of pay, time in a military jail, and possibly a dishonorable discharge. That's what happened to so many of our service members, our men and women, who decided to refuse this illegal drug. They had heard the rumors, they knew the possible consequences, they had investigated this vaccine, and they had decided they just could not take it. And so, all too often, they received those same sanctions. A fine, time in a military jail, loss of rank, and many, many times a dishonorable discharge. And a dishonorable discharge never goes away. That's what I'm asking for your help with today. We have a petition at this website, wh.gov/PZU. This is a White House petition, and we are asking you to sign it because we are requesting that President Obama clean and expunge the records of those service members who refused an illegal drug. We would like to set the record straight. We would like to get their service records corrected so that these people no longer face lifelong punishment for having refused something that was illegal in the first place. Will you help us? If you help us to correct their service records, if enough of us speak out and President Obama will answer this petition, we can all help to correct a great wrong. Thank you for your time.
And that was from last year. I still had to do research to see what happened with that petition and to see if our President Obama, if he expunged, if he pardoned those men and women in our armed forces that refused the anthrax vaccine, as I believe is their God-given right to do. I believe it violates the Nuremberg Code to force medical procedures on a person, and that our government's guilty of doing that, of violating the Nuremberg Code. So I have another one. It deals with the same topics, the anthrax vaccine in our armed forces. This is emotional for me. You know, I don't have a child in the armed forces. My father did not serve, but my grandfather did. I have many people, especially that great nephew of mine, He was serving in the Philippines for a while, and I'm deeply concerned. So even possibility with this anthrax vaccine that possibly the men especially would be infertile, no longer able to have the family they are fighting so hard to protect, to enlarge it, or to have it. So let's listen to this part. And again, if you want to respond back to me, it's at VaxTruthNews on Twitter. And my email is vaccinetruthnews@yahoo.com. I myself am going to an appointment later this afternoon. So I'll be able to respond this evening if you send an email. But I like to respond directly as much as I can. Okay, this is about the U.S. troops.
Last fall, the U.S. military reinstituted mandatory vaccination against anthrax for America's armed services for troops likely to be deployed overseas. But many service members question whether any country actually has weaponized anthrax, and they worry that the real enemy is the vaccine itself. The exclusive story of one service member who has refused the anthrax vaccine and the controversy over its safety is tonight's Weekend Journal.
I'm more worried about this vaccine than I'm worried about bullets.
Stationed overseas in a combat unit, this soldier told CBS News he refused the mandatory series of 6 shots after military buddies who got them died. Nor does he believe there is a real threat of an anthrax attack on U.S. troops.
I've never, in my military career, ever seen anybody come in contact with anthrax. I've never seen anybody taken from the battlefield because of anthrax. I just do not see the legitimacy in the anthrax shot.
He asked CBS not to reveal his identity in order not to further aggravate the commanders who will decide his future. After 15 years in the military, he could be court-martialed.
I think my career is over. I mean, I've pretty much came to that conclusion that my career is going to be over no matter what.
I've been diagnosed with chronic fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue.
Former Navy man Luis Hernandez says there is cause for concern. A 51-year-old New Yorker, he says he got sick after getting 4 anthrax vaccine shots in 2003 and was finally discharged from the military last month.
I have a cyst in my head. I have white matter stuff in the front of my skull.
Hernandez's medical records list symptoms including migraines, cognitive dysfunction, and chronic joint and muscle pain. He says Veterans Administration doctors told him he had a mystery illness. Now he's participating in a new study of the effects of the anthrax vaccine conducted by the Vaccine Healthcare Center, a little-known department at Walter Reed Army Medical Center.
They told me that the symptoms that I had, they had noted in other service members that had anthrax vaccines, and they just didn't know the remedy how to fix this.
Anthrax vaccination for members of the military first became mandatory in 1998, though in 2004 a federal court halted the involuntary vaccinations, saying the vaccine had not been properly approved by the FDA. The FDA gave final approval to the vaccine in 2005, and last fall the Defense Department announced the resumption of the mandatory program. According to the Pentagon, some 1.5 million service members have received the shots.
We know that anthrax is deadly, and it's potentially that they could be exposed.
Colonel Randall Anderson, director of the Military Vaccine Agency, says the vaccination program is essential.
We have a licensed vaccine. I think that we deserve it to our service members to protect them.
And defense officials say while there are side effects, the vaccine is safe.
All the different independent committees that have looked at this vaccine have said the anthrax vaccine is as safe as any other safe vaccine.
But the Government Accountability Office says that's impossible to say because the vaccine's long-term safety has not been investigated and data on short-term reactions are limited. The GAO says that 84% of vaccine recipients experience adverse reactions. And even material by the Institute of Medicine given to CBS News by Colonel Anderson says the vaccine is reasonably safe but relatively crude by current standards and calls urgently for a new and modernized vaccine. And the manufacturer's own insert in the vaccine warns of deaths associated with it. The Pentagon says it is not aware of any fatalities.
No deaths? No deaths associated with this anthrax vaccine.
Still, this soldier is asking one thing of his country, good science to protect him and his comrades, not just a shot in the dark.
There's been more complications from the anthrax vaccine than there has been from anthrax contact. I mean, that is fact. So, I don't see what justification they have for making this mandatory.
And a personal disclosure, at the beginning of the Iraq War, I was one of dozens of journalists embedded with American forces, in my case, the 4th Infantry Division. I received the anthrax vaccination and did not have any adverse reactions. Up next on tonight's CBS Evening News, royal breakup, hopes of a royal marriage dashed by word that wills won't.
Experimental vaccines. News Blitz. RT. Israel to pay $6 million compensation to anthrax vaccine trial subjects. Let's scroll down a little into the meat and potatoes of this. I want to show you something. The soldiers say they have been afflicted with Crohn's disease, epilepsy, thyroid inflammation, pneumonia, allergic dermatitis, and kidney failure as a result of the injections. Let's keep chasing this rabbit here. I found it over here on Jerusalem Post. Defense Ministry to pay over NIS $20 million to IDF soldiers subjected to anthrax experiment. Keep going here. We got it on Israel Hayom. State to compensate soldiers for anthrax experiment. Let's keep pushing forward. Haaretz. Israel to compensate soldiers who took part in anthrax vaccine experiment. Settlement between Defense Ministry and soldiers closed lawsuit as state admits there were side effects, agrees to pay plaintiffs $6 million. Now, here's some of the mind-blowing information that I discovered after looking into this. I came over here to clinicaltrials.gov, which is one of the National Institutes of Death, and I typed in anthrax vaccine. Then scrolling down on the list here, I went to the one that says recruiting. BioThrax, anthrax vaccine absorption vaccine in pregnancy registry. Let's click the button and find out what's going on here. I'm going to scroll down and show you something staggering, or at least it made me sit down. Check it out. After knowing this other information about all the different things that the anthrax vaccine's been doing, starting in 2012, they've enrolled 580 pregnant women who, right here in the group cohorts, anthrax vaccine absorbed, it says active duty women who received 1 or more doses of BioThrax while pregnant, with the onset of pregnancy defined as the first day of the last menstrual period. So you can see 580 women that are pregnant are going to be injected with BioThrax. Let's go over to the Fear and Death Administration. You know it's true. And we have the BioThrax insert. And the mystery grows, folks. Check this out. I was strolling through it, and look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, no 9, no 10, and no 13. So, I'm not sure exactly what they're not disclosing here, but you have to assume it's something very detrimental to their product that they're trying to sling your way, huh? If you want to learn more about all this crazy nonsense, folks, come over here to Experimental Vaccines. Subscribe right there. Just give me your email. It's completely free. All the links to everything that I've shown you are going to be here below the video. Here, let me scroll down and show you. All the links are always right there. It's completely free, and I will see you tomorrow.
All right. And that was Experimental Vaccines. You can find them on YouTube, their channel. I looked at some of their videos and I liked them. So I highly recommend that you go to YouTube. Experimental Vaccines is the name of their channel. And they show different articles as they're talking about it, as he did. And I'm still organizing all of this information in my brain. And I don't have a fully... I haven't written out a dialogue to discuss this on, but it was just so emotional to read. I mean, who does this? You know, it's our government. So being compelled to testify reminded me of one of my favorite movies, which was The Insider. And he had to testify in Mississippi. I don't know if you remember watching this movie. And they put restraining orders on him from speaking in this state and that state. But Mississippi, he could speak. And I want you to listen to this. They talk about the blood barrier with nicotine. And we talk about the blood barrier with thimerosal, which is in our vaccines. Now, you will say, or perhaps your doctor will say, we removed the mercury, meaning the thimerosal. Thimerosal is 49.8% ethyl mercury versus methyl mercury. But if you have a child that's teething, that thimerosal is going to go directly to that child's brain. And, the legal term removal. Let's go over that really bit. I hate that nasty word removal. You know, I have a child that's over half Cherokee. And in this case, the legal term removal in pharmacy world, in legal world means this.